Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining. We're just going to give it a couple minutes while everybody jumps onto the webinar, and then we will get this kicked off. Thanks for joining. Give it just another minute to let people join in. Okay, well, I think we're going to get started here, and if anybody jumps in, they'll be able to follow along. We will also be recording this and sending it out later, so if anybody joins late, they'll be able to catch up. Thank you, everyone, for joining and participating. I am Patrick Daniels with Anvil. Today we are going to be focused on an Insurtech webinar focused around building business efficiencies using data. Thanks everybody for their patience. If you had signed up for the previous week, I know we had a little bit of delay, but we're really happy to be here and glad that you guys are joining us. With me today, I have Sarah. Sarah, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sarah McGrath. I'm the product specialist here at Anvil. So that means I work on everything Anvil, and you can find me in our support channels and in our communities. So come say hi.
Thanks, Sarah. Really appreciate you being part of it. I will be leaning on Sarah during this webinar as we build out workflows for everybody. So really thank you for joining again. What we're going to be focusing on today, and this is really comes out of our previous webinar, a fireside chat we held at the beginning of March with some of our partners in the Insurtech world, including AgentSync, Vouch, and PathPoint, leadership from there. And we were really kind of discussing innovating in the Insurtech space and really focused on data and data efficiencies. If you were not able to join us, or if you haven't seen a recording, one of my colleagues is going to be putting a link to the recording in our chat. And you can also find this on our website as well at useanvil.com. And so really, the idea for today's webinar is, as we're thinking high level of building out these data efficiencies, we thought it would be good to really drill down into how some of our partners, and especially in the insurance space, are really leveraging Anvil and the Anvil products, specifically workflows, to help their business build these efficiencies. And so for today, the agenda will really be our first part. Sarah will walk us through some of the basics around workflows. If you're unfamiliar with Anvil workflows, you can kind of think of this as a web form builder that captures the data in a structured way up front, which can then be replicated onto PDFs and forms. The second part, we'll talk a little bit more about some of the complex features that are available in workflows and what that looks like to your customers and that user experience versus manually filling out some of these complex insurance PDFs and forms. The third part, we'll get into tying it all together and what that means as far as business operational efficiencies. And then we'll open it up to some Q&A. Well, let's get it kicked off. You ready, Sarah?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. So the first part, again, we're going to talk about some of the basics around workflow setups and the e-signature aspect. So we do a lot of things through Loom. We have a lot of training videos that are available, and we'll get this going right now. So Sarah, if you wouldn't mind kind of walking us through what the UI looks like and as far as workflow builders goes.
So I kind of just wanted to start with a little navigation in the beginning. This is your dashboard. You're gonna find everything you need here. You have your workflows, Etch e-signature for pre-filled packets, and document templates. We also have your organization settings, where as an admin, you can invite users and assign their roles, find your billing and your API keys. So just to jump in, I'm gonna upload a document here, a fillable document. So as you can see, Anvil recognized 114 fields in the form. To the left, we have the web form, and to the right, we have our PDF. It's automatically mapped all those fields to your web form. That's why the fields are green right now. When you first upload a fillable form, it can kind of come in a little bit messy at first. So when you look through, things could be a little out of place, or you might need to relabel things. Just kind of like see how that all kind of looks right now.
Yeah, I think that's kind of an important part where, you know, if the PDF's fillable, often our system will recognize whether it's an address, a social security, but there is a little bit of cleanup that's always necessary. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. If you're around PDFs kind of a lot, they'll have multiple fields stacked on the same field. So just part of it, that there is a little bit of uplift in creating these templates. So if you have standardized forms, either internal or per state, per your partners, if you're working with carriers, you can build out these standardized templates, and you only have to kind of do that initial setup once. And really, you know, depending on the complexity, it can range from, you know, what would you say, Sarah, anywhere from 20-30 minutes to cleaning it up to maybe an hour or two. But the important aspect is, with a little bit of upfront work, you know, that an admin, somebody on their operations team can do, you're building out that template that can then be repeated across, you know, multiple customers, multiple carriers, and multiple states.
Yeah, updating the information is really quick and easy because a lot of those fields are automatically recognized. So I'm going to jump to a quick form that I've cleaned up a little bit and just kind of show how easy it is to clean things up. And as you can see, Anvil recognizes that that was an address. From here, I can connect the related fields as well. So street, city, state, and zip. You can see at the end here, when I go to add the zip code, I'm going to draw the box on the actual PDF. So it's all pretty simple to do. You can connect the fields to each other with ease as well. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, and so if it's fillable, it'll oftentimes recognize that box. If there's no box, if it's not a fillable PDF, you can draw over it. You can even upload your own Word documents that you've created out internally. So it's fairly adaptable to whatever form or PDF that you're using, correct?
Here I'm kind of, I'm adding a signature, I'm adding a signer. So one thing to note is, when you create a signer profile, you need the name of the person on the web form, and then also their email. Information on the web form doesn't have to be on the PDF. So on this PDF, I don't have a field for email, but I'm going to require it anyway. And when I go and assign that signer, it will automatically send the documents to their email for signature. I'm going to require that they draw the signature, and that the signer signs, and each signer signs their signature individually so that they know what they're looking at. And we can kind of take a look at how that creates the document.
Now, this is actually the web form, similar to what the user experience would look like, that you're able to see in our UI, correct?
Right.
Yep.
So I'm going to go through and just kind of quickly fill in some of this information. Here we have check boxes where they can select multiple choice. I'm going to enter all my information there, review the information. So they get to see everything that they filled out to be able to double check it before it actually gets created into the document. Once the PDF is generated, you can then draw your signature, which is super fun. I really enjoy this part. You accept it, assign consent, and then you can actually see all of your information populated on the document before you go through and sign it. So just another like touch point so that they can make sure everything's good to go. Click in my signature there, and it's going to generate the full PDF. I don't know if you noticed there was like a quick screen there, but you actually have a full audit trail. So when someone views a document, when they've signed it, it's all tracked within Anvil, so you can keep up with your document from start to finish. So there's
pretty quickly, you're able to build out a web form based off of this PDF, which we just grabbed for the state of California license. And that last section was actually the user experience of filling it out versus clicking into the fields, having to hand draw it. And so it's very powerful in capturing that data up front right away in a structured format and reducing the amount of errors that we typically see. And so what this means to your business is, instead of your sales reps, focused on becoming a PDF expert, how to fill it out, chasing down that information via email, phone calls, or even faxes, having disparate information, you can ask for all of this information at first, and capture that in a structured way and put that onto the PDF, as well as pulling that data to your system, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But the idea is your team can really focus on your own products and selling and making them more powerful versus becoming experts on these complex insurance documents, right? And reducing the amount of errors. And so in this next section, Sarah's going to talk a little bit about some of the advanced features, because we know on these insurance forms that they can get really complex with radio groups, repeating pages. So I'm going to go ahead and click into this first section for you, Sarah.
Thank you.
And let me get this line teed up. There we go.
Here we go. So I'm going to start with radio groups here. So what a radio group is it's going to give a user options, but with one choice selection. So I'm just going to name the field to be the application type. I already have the option as permanent. And then I'm going to select the second option. This connects the two to each other, and it creates a drop-down box on your web form. So when you go over to look here, and it's at the bottom, I want to move it to the top. So these are really super customizable. You can move your fields around to wherever they make sense to the user and to you and your team. Down here, I'm going to kind of just highlight real quick what the checkboxes look like. We did have an example of that when we were first setting up our workflow in that first video. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw this on here real quick to give you an example of what it looks like when you add conditions to your web form. And what I mean by conditions is when you actually have like a yes or no, a quick highlight there, you can add explanation text. So to explain what this question is down here, I can just throw in a quick field on the web form to explain it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rearrange this a little bit. So if they need to submit their name, they would check yes. And so I want to put some conditions on that. If the box is checked yes, I want to make sure that they're seeing that name field below. If they check no, then they won't see that name field. It's not required for them to fill out, and it just makes it super easy and straightforward. So we'll go through a quick example again. There's that drop down from the radio group. We have our check boxes. I'm going to select yes, and as you see, that name pops up so that I can fill in that information because it's required due to that condition.
Awesome. And that conditional logic can even extend into multiple PDFs that you can build into one workflow. And so, for example, if somebody clicks yes, it may take them down a different journey for a specific state. If they click no, then it takes them down another path with the correct forms that they need to fill out. So it's very powerful in that sense that you can stack multiple PDFs into one workflow, as well as you can capture that information, say their name, has to be repeated across multiple PDFs. You can ask for it once, and then that will replicate across multiple PDFs and forms.
Another fun feature, I guess, we'll jump into is our our repeating pages. So frequently you're going to see on your forms that there's information that could go past the actual PDF in forms of in terms of how many boxes are available. So you can repeat the page. And what I'm doing here is I'm creating an array. So it's an order or a series arrangement of connected fields. And what this does is it allows the user to input as much information as they need without limiting the information to only one page. So I'm just going to show you a quick example. I've connected all these fields together, and you're going to want to connect them in the same order. So you can do this with a bunch of different fields, but as you can see, I did 1, 2, 3, 4 for the left side, and then I did the same thing for the right, all 1, 2, 3, 4 to make sure that they're lined up correctly.
And I know we're kind of going through this pretty quickly. So anybody that's viewing this, really, we're just trying to show you some of the capabilities and power behind Anvil. This isn't really an exact how-to that we're happy to work with you guys on.
I'm going to kind of show you what makes this feature particularly powerful by going through and actually submitting part of this form. So you'll see it's asking for the company name and the position. So I'm just going to kind of go through and actually make this page repeat so we can see what that end result looks like. So I'm the product specialist here. We have Patrick as our account executive.
And we've seen these workflows. So this is actually filling out the workflow. So this is something that the end user would view and see. This is how they would interact with it. This is set up through our website currently, but you do have the ability to embed this workflow and signature process into your own app that we have. Often, a lot of the Insurtech companies that we work for want it to appear to be their own products, to be coming from them, keep everybody internal to their own app and website. And so it's very easy to embed these features into your own product.
So just going to finish that up now and save that last item. So here again, we can review the information, create and generate the document, and then let's take a look at what that finished result looks like. So what we're expecting here is that we have our first page of all of those repeating fields, and then we should have a second page with the same continuation of those fields. And there we are.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. So now we're going to jump into kind of tying all this together. And really the idea is to easily upload a PDF or form, whether they're internal to your own insurance business or if they're insurance forms from the government per state. You can easily set these up, have an admin templatize them, and create these workflows. And these workflows, you can leverage all of Anvil's products as standalone, right? So you do not need to be fully integrated into your system to use these. But we do have very, very powerful APIs. Anvil was co-founded by 2 developers, so we're very developer and engineering forward. Our API is very well documented on our website, which later on I'll show you how to access. And it's an open API. So oftentimes we'll have developers come in and look at our API and start building out the integration first. I've also worked with organizations on the business side that want to start using these workflows and these efficiencies, and they're able to leverage that right away. And then later on, when the engineering or their internal development team has time and resources, they can more deeply integrate it through our API. So all of our product capabilities, workflows, PDF filling, generation, e-signature, you have the ability to deeply integrate into your systems via our API. another important aspect that I kind of want people to start thinking about is if you're capturing the data in a structured way upfront via our workflows, the idea becomes capturing the data and sending it to where you need to go. Even in our workflows, you can build additional questions that maybe you want internally for your business, but isn't part of that standard onboarding PDF or form, right? That your customer is filling out. You can add additional questions and capture additional information, and then easily either through our API or through something like Zapier, integrate it into your system, into your CRM, into your agency management system. And it really becomes the PDF and the e-signature process are almost byproducts of this data, this structured data capture. And you're doing it cleanly upfront, at first, upfront, and only one time. And so it becomes very, very powerful for your business. And then for things like workflows, if you have that information and data already captured, you can pre-populate our workflows in several different ways that we're happy to walk through with you. But you can pre-populate these workflows. So you can imagine if one of your customers is, say, coming up for a renewal, you basically can send them out a link, go into Salesforce, your rep can go into Salesforce, grab the link with the right products, have all the information pre-populated that is already captured in that account, and send it out to your customer, and they basically just review it. And if maybe they've moved, they can change their address, and then it's a click and a yes, and then you have them on their renewal process. And so the idea is really capturing the data cleanly at first, up front, sending it to where it needs to go internally into your system, and really speeding that decision process for your customers and helping you create almost, getting to that instant quoting state or instant renewal state for your customers. Is there anything else that you'd like to add, Sarah, as far as integrating into the system or upfront with the workflows?
I think that, well, I'm not sure if I mentioned it in the beginning, but the examples that we were showing in the videos that we went through, I think it's important to note that I was working through our free product, so Anvil free, so you can actually go through and do all of those same things with really quickly and easily right when you sign up. So you have a lot of really powerful tools, and you're not limited at all in how you can set things up really easily just to test things out at first.
Awesome. Yeah, and just kind of like one last thought before we move into Q&A is, especially in Insurtech, it's always trying to bridge that gap between insurance and a little bit old school thought and the startup technical mentality. And so where we've had a lot of success and had a lot of fun with our Insurtech partners is helping them kind of bridge that gap between the operational and sales team, the insurance side of the business, and the really deep engineering and technical expertise. And so there's a variety of ways of setting this up where maybe the operational team is ready to go on some of these workflows and want to start testing it out with their customers. You can start doing that, leverage things like Zapier, and then have the engineering team come back behind and more deeply integrate it, like I mentioned before, through our APIs. Other times we have work, at first with the development and engineering teams, and they're interested in setting up this integration. Maybe they set up we help them set up a complex workflow at once. And then the idea is you set up the integration once, then you kind of set it and forget it. And then you can hand that off to the sales and operations team, who can start uploading more and more of these PDFs, start templatizing them, and really that integration's already set up, and you only have to do that once. The other powerful aspect with the templates is that oftentimes these insurance forms are updated year to year, and it might just be, one additional field that needs to be filled out and everything else is the same, or maybe something slightly rearranged. With our templates, you can easily go in, upload the new PDF, draw the boxes, make sure the boxes are adjusted correctly, and then really not have to mess around with that workflow much. And so it's really easy to update all of these workflows and forms. I think now we'll move over to the Q&A. See if I can pull up some of these questions, if you'll bear with me. So we do have a question of, what about additional forms for the same client? Do they have to enter their information again? And so I think I might have mentioned this briefly, but no, they do not have to. So you can set up workflows in a way to capture something like their name, their address, just that one time, and then repeat it across multiple PDFs and multiple forms. And you can either do that in, say, one workflow at once, or if you've captured that information either previously in your system or in an initial workflow, and then at a later date you require additional forms or information, you can pre-populate something like your name, address, whatever information or data that you might have. And so again, that's just building these efficiencies, making it a better user experience for your customers, where they're not having to fill out the same information 10, 20 times. Because a lot of this data is very, on a lot of these insurance forms are the same thing repeated over and over. Let's see if we have any other questions come in. We'll just give it a minute. Forms that get updated each year. Yeah, Sarah, I think I touched upon it briefly, but if maybe you want to lend your expertise to, say, a form changes from year to year.
Yeah, so it's really easy to go in and update your document templates to be updated. You take the new PDF and the underlying PDF on Anvil, you can actually go and there's a button to replace, so you can update and add the new form right into the current one. So you don't have to go through and reconfigure the whole template again. You just have to reconfigure the new fields that are included, or maybe just check for like any old fields that you might not need anymore. And yeah, it'll reconfigure everything for you. And then you can apply them to new web forms as those updates happen.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. I'm going to cut over to our website real quick. So use anvil.com. Like Sarah mentioned, you can sign up for an account for free. And everything that she did and that we went through today, she was able to build out on a demo account that was a free account. So it's very powerful. You're able to also your developers are also able to go in on a free account and develop against our dev key for free. So you can set up these APIs and test against it. I also just want to show you some additional resources where we do have free forms already set up. So you can, kind of go through and look at, say, a W9 or a W4 workflow. We have we have an engineering blog that gets updated pretty frequently, almost once a week, with a lot of very good insights from our engineering and development team. And then most importantly, I'll leave you if you go to developers and our API guide, this is our very detailed documentation around all of our API, and how you can use it for workflows, e-sign, PDF filling and generation. Things like webhooks to get notifications for when a document's signed, as well as all our GraphQL reference. Well, I'd like to thank you, Sarah, for joining me today. I'd like to thank everybody that was able to join us after our slight delay, and to those watching the recordings, please feel free to reach out. You can contact me. My email is right there. I can connect you with Sarah if you'd like to talk to the real expert on Anvil. And, please, send us your most hated PDF. We'd love to see your most hated PDF. We'd love to help build out a workflow for you and just show you how easy it is to really capture that structured data up front cleanly at once, and then how easy it is to leverage either our APIs or something like Zapier to integrate it more deeply into your system. Thank you from everybody here at Anvil for joining us. Take care.